Hi, this is Jeff Blauette, technical agronomist with Cooperative Farmers Elevator, and on this week's Field Friday segment, I thought we'd go ahead and kind of talk on one of the major topics of conversation this last little while, and it's the stage of this corn crop and what we have going on out here. We know all summer we've been cooler, we planted later, so the topic has been, so how far behind are we? What stage is this corn in, and when can we expect things to maybe be black layered, mature, and moisture wise, what can we expect? So I thought we'd touch on some of the details on that and where we probably are. We're here mid-September, of course. If you look at the math on this, you know, we're behind in heat units. If we would have a normal planting date this year, we didn't quite get it. Even the earliest stuff really didn't get in on a normal planting date, but I thought we'd look at a couple of planting dates that were fairly common this year, May 15 and June 1st. We know that Mother Nature does have a way of helping us out a little bit. It seems hard to believe sometimes the way she's treated us the last couple of years, but Purdue and several other universities have done some research on later planting dates and seeing how much that corn can speed along to maturity faster than the book says it should. The data kind of shows something to the effect of about 7 growing degree units less per day after May 1st is how much less heat unit accumulation it takes to get to maturity. Most seed guides are going to have a GDUs or growing degree units to black layer or maturity, so you kind of have a reference for that. So if we look at that, May 15th planting date, we got a little bit less than, or a little bit over 100 GDUs less than what the book would say it's going to take to get there. And if we're looking at June 1st, another kind of a planting window that opened up for us to do that first week of June, a little over 200 growing degree units to our favor, you might say. So if the growing degree unit guide says it takes 2,400 and we planted it June 1st, we can maybe use the math on 2,200 growing degree units. So doing that, it's good. It helps that crop get closer to black layer faster, so you don't get it, you know, have less risk of getting it froze. But in that manner, when that corn speeds along, it's obviously making some compromises. We'd rather have more days for it to absorb sunlight. You know, these are big solar panels. That whole, every acre is a solar panel for us. But if we have less time to accumulate growing degree units and absorb sunlight, we're making that, you know, grain fill a little bit shorter, and that hurts us in yield. So that's kind of why we try and get the corn planted on time when we can, and it helps our yield potential. But given that, I thought we'd look at where we are. This happens to be May 15th planting. We've got a 104-day hybrid here. If we look at the black layer up close here, you're looking at about a half milk layer kernel development. At half milk layer, or the milk line, we're about 3 weeks from black layer roughly. So when we're half milk line today, here the middle of September, 3 weeks puts us into that first week of October for dry down, or for maturity, I should say. That's not really where we want to be, obviously, and we've got a lot of stuff that's later than 104 day out, and we've got obviously the 1st of June, we're not going to be this far. The 1st of June, if you look at how the development on that stuff looks, we were 2 weeks later in planting, but the development's actually only about a week behind because of that, you know, less heat units designed to get us that black layer. And then from June 1st on, we weren't as far behind on heat units than normal, as opposed to the May 15 window, because we were pretty chilly in that time frame. So that's kind of why that is what it is. But the other thing that we know is if we have black layer corn roughly from 30 to 35% moisture, historically on average we can dry corn in the field a lot better the last couple weeks of September. Well, we're not going to get to black layer until 1st of October in a lot of cases, so that's out. The first half of October statistically is better than the last half. Matter of fact, the last 15 days or so of October, history says on average we're maybe only going to dry a couple points of moisture. Yes, we can get a Indian summer and have some above average temperatures in October and things go faster. That's what we're hoping for this year, but the average says not. And as we get into the last half of October, into November, we just don't dry much corn in the field very well. We can roll the dice and say we're going to hope Mother Nature does us a favor and is really warm, but Mother Nature hasn't been willing to help us much of the year, so we pretty much need to consider that. So if you look at this chart, this will tell you some numbers comparatively on a few different maturities and different planting dates. If we look at a May 15 planting date with 104-day corn, we're basically looking, if we have average weather from here forward, an estimated black layer date that end of the first week of October. If we had 100-day, then we're looking at right towards the end of September. If we got back into that 100-day maturity at June 1st, we're still back into the first week of October. So by going 4-day earlier maturity, but having 2 weeks later planting date, we're going to black layer about the same time as what the data says. And again, if we look at the moisture that we're estimating, if you figure the first few points from 30 to 25 comes off a lot easier than from 20 to 15. You know, the drier it gets, the more moisture it holds on to and takes longer to dry down. You can kind of see where I'm estimating what the moistures will be at a couple of different dates here this fall, and it's not very pretty. It looks to me like we better be willing to dry some corn, because even if we leave it out there till the 1st of November, we're going to have a lot of corn that's in the low to mid to upper 20s, even if we have some fuller season stuff. And yeah, we start getting into October, later October, you know, the last number of years, it seems like more often than not we have a really bad wind go through and we have a problem. So as much as nobody wants to with the commodity prices and the economics the way they are, I think we need to definitely consider we're going to have to dry some corn one way or the other. And if we've got it in the bin by the 15th, 20th of October, it might be a better place than having it out in the field. We've had a lot of winds that have caused us problems. We're going to have some more issues this year. There is some disease out there. We're going to have some fields with some nitrogen deficiency. We had some late season aphids come in that sucked the juices out of the stalk in some cases. That's going to hurt our late season integrity. All those things kind of scare me if you're going to leave this stuff out there till Thanksgiving. So I guess just be aware of the facts. You can decide what risk you're willing to take and what expense you're willing to take on, but you need to understand where our crop is this year, and we're still all hoping that the potential is for these commodities to rebound and we'll have something that's worth more than it is today, and that'll make it a lot easier to pay the bills, as you say, going forward. But don't shoot the messenger, but I just wanted to make you aware of where we are and kind of how some things probably lay out going towards this fall for our corn harvest. So with that, that's this week's Field Friday segment, and we'll see you next week.